Welcome to the Women of BSV. We are thrilled to be here together with you all today. We are also grateful to have many special guests. Our mystery guest is about to be revealed. But first, welcome to the conversation with Ruth, Diddy, Casey, Corpy, Micah, Ray, and myself, Rory. We open this conversation with love and understanding. Yee. And here we have the mystery guest reveal. Jackson Lasky, CEO of Unbounded Enterprise, partner in Unbounded Capital, pianist, poker player, and as we see in his handle, the Duro Dog CEO. So bow wow. Great to see you.
I'm very honored to be here. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the kind intro.
Thank you for coming. Now, can I
Nice
just
to meet you.
interject that I had a go on the beta testing for Duro Dogs, and I really, really enjoyed myself. And I think there's about 100 people as well. So I want to congratulate you on that because it's absolutely, it's so much fun. It really is. So,
do you think you two could explain it to us? Because I don't know that much about it.
Now we have Jackson here, who is our special guest. Let's let Jackson explain everything about who he is and what he's doing and what Duro Dogs is. Is that all right with you, Jackson?
It's my absolute pleasure.
Well,
first of all, thank you for coming to the playtest, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. We got a lot of really positive feedback, but I think one of the things that we had to kind of grapple with while creating the game was, who is our audience? Because I think that it's really easy to just always try and build everything for, I think that we have a name for this kind of consumer profile, Bob, or something like that, who is, the BSV enthusiast, probably male of a certain age, certain types of social characteristics, and has various interests which are maybe somewhat predictable. And the question we had to ask ourselves is like, are we going to be most successful by trying to cater to that kind of customer? Or can we have more success by trying to cater to a different type of customer? And so we had to really kind of figure out how to balance, this kind of incentive, which is in your face in the NFT world today, which is that there are people who want to buy expensive NFTs for various reasons. But what our real ambition is with the game Duro Dogs is to be a game that can be extremely accessible. And we want to see tens or even hundreds of millions of people ultimately playing this game and participating in this ecosystem. That's obviously a goal that even if we're extremely insightful, we're unlikely to reach it, but that's what we're shooting for. And that's really what Duro Dogs is it's a gaming ecosystem built around these digital pet dogs. And it's really designed for massive consumer scale. We want tens or hundreds of millions of players. We want thousands of games built for Duro Dogs. We want thousands or tens of thousands of creators contributing to the Duro Dogs ecosystem. And the reason we think that we can accomplish this is because, in our view, the combination of NFTs and micropayments is sort of like, I'm not going to think of the best analogy, but it is a combination that we think really unlocks the creator economy in a way that nothing else that we've seen really can. And I think it's because, micropayments and the kind of commerce it enables just opens up new types of collaboration, which I don't think had been possible before. And so we're really excited to be just steps away from opening, the very sort of basic version of the game to the public. And then we have a lot of room to grow from there. We're really excited.
So how do you want to tell people how they can actually join in the game and where they can find the game, etc.?
Well, I don't want to put too much pressure on our development team by announcing the date, but if you were in the playtest, we didn't crash. Everything went well, and so we're very close. And so I would say just follow Durodogs on Twitter, go to durodogs.com, sign up for our mailing list. You can follow me, and we'll be trying to get it in front of, I think, everybody in your audience. I feel like we'll be able to reach and let them know when the game is out and ready for them to start playing.
And we've heard this word Duro before. Alex Agut, CEO of the Handcash Wallet, was recently our guest. So, how does this Duro relate to what you're doing with this digital dog game?
Well, we approached Handcash a while back, kind of looking for a home for Nifty Jigs, which was and still is a platform that we're creating that manages NFTs on BSV. And we wanted to work with Handcash because we thought that they were, the best wallet for the kind of consumers that we ultimately wanted to reach. And we also felt that really selecting and focusing on one wallet would allow us to bypass a lot of the problems that I think some other companies have faced doing NFTs on BSV, which has a lot of unique opportunities, but also unique challenges compared to other places where NFTs are used. And so we wanted to create a game that was sort of appropriate to celebrate this partnership with Handcash. And so we thought, or Durodogs just kind of popped into the air as, an alliterative option. But we
I love it.
love the Duro, we love Handcash, and we like dogs because dogs can do a lot of things. And we think that we wanted to create something that could go in a lot of different directions, that different creators could kind of put their stamp on it.
Can I just get like a feel for exactly what happens in the game, Diddy? Because you've played it, so
I have, but I don't want to give too much away. So, can I? Am I allowed to?
Yeah, please.
Okay,
I'd love to know. I'd love to. It'll be much more valuable for me to hear how you describe it than for me to.
So, initially, you link your Handcash with the game, and that allows you to actually access the game. And in the game, you were then given a dog, and you can have additional dogs if you want to. So I gave my dog the name of Jimmy, and then I also had an additional dog which I called Enzo. And then what you do is you have to kind of literally train your dog and feed your dog and look after your dog. So there are certain there's different levels in the game, and there are certain actions that you have to do to be able to get enough experience points, etc., so you can move on to the next level. So literally it's going through and training your dog to do like dig or little I don't want to give too much away because I don't want to upset your development. But literally there are little things that he can do, like he can dig and he can stand on his hind legs,
so like tricks and things.
Yeah, and you feed him, and then you can buy like a collar and accessories, etc. And you build up through the game, and obviously the more levels you go through, the more tricks your dog can do, the better looking your dog is, because he can get some nice shades and a bit of a baseball cap and bow ties and things like that. And that's and you can have as many dogs as you want as well. So your litter can just keep growing and growing and growing. And it's just really enjoyable, and they're dead cute. I mean, the animation is they are really, really cute. So I mean, I only played for about 40 minutes, so which is quite a small period of time, but it was enough to kind of understand how the game was. And I just thought it was really cute. It was really, I mean, I had a few problems with my Wi-Fi connection, but it kind of sorted itself out in the end. But I just thought it was lovely. And it's one of those things where, kids could actually play this game as well. To the point of actually, like, it is like the old Tamagotchis, but it's a lot better because there is nice animation and the dogs are really cute. But you could sort of, like, a 10-year-old could easily play this game, no problem whatsoever. It just depends on whether or not you want children to sort of with the money kind of aspect of it. But like, you know, teaching a child how to, or even an adult actually, just how to look after a dog is a really good thing. You know, remember to feed him, remember to pet him, remember to play with him, remember to take it for a walk, remember to do all of these things and just nurturing it. And I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I loved it. And but then I'm a big kid at heart, so maybe that's the thing as well. But yeah,
Right.
so yeah, if I, you know, if I just don't want to give too much away, like you said, really. But I would like encourage anybody to have a go, especially when it comes out and it's in hand cash and it's there and you
Yeah.
can play with it. It's lovely. It's so cute. I loved it. And it was like, oh, I should have played for longer, and then I could have like had about 5 puppies or something, you know. But no, I had 2. Jimmy and Enzo were my doggies.
May they rest in peace.
Oh,
I
They're
think,
dead now.
well, yeah, I
Did
think
you
it might be
reset
because
the
you didn't
server?
have too much bonding because we're going to give everybody a fresh start when we actually launch the game. No, that's it's a great description.
Well, what
you're
I
spot on.
understand as well is that, like, obviously when you get to like the highest level, like your dog is an NFT basically, so you know you can either keep him forever and keep. I mean, how many levels are on the game? I mean, it was quite limited on the. But is it indefinite levels? 200 levels? I mean, how many levels do we go?
So
The moon?
right now there's just 10 levels, but your dog also has experience points. So your dog is an NFT from the moment you get it. And every time you do an action with your dog, you get experience points. And those experience points allow you to level up. And those experience points get tracked on chain from day one. Over time, we're going to put other information on chain. We wanted to just be kind of put the absolute essentials on chain at first to keep things simple. But what we're really excited about is, yeah, in this first game, you're kind of raising your dog, you're leveling up, you're unlocking new abilities, you're getting different items so that you can kind of outfit your dog. But what that's kind of building towards, we call this first game the Dog's Playground. And it's this kind of training environment where what's coming next is we are building and we're working with other builders to create games where you can actually take your dog that you've now trained and leveled up and take it to a new environment where you can play with it with other types of objectives and potentially, and it's kind of up to the game developer, but potentially your experience level or even things as granular as how often have you pet your dog, how often have you asked your dog to lie down, so on, so on. These could have an impact on your kind of attributes within other games. And that's part of what we think is really cool about the blockchain element is that your dog has this history which never goes away. You know, we looked at Farmville as inspiration kind of for the initial playground game, kind of a simple passive game that you could come back to again and again.
Yeah, my mum would love this because she used to play Farmville like all the time, like crazy. I don't Farmville, but
Farmville is what's sad to us about Farmville is that because Flash was basically deprecated, Farmville 1 is now gone. So if you had a farm that you put a lot of work and blood and sweat and tears into, it's gone. And so we can't, of course, promise that we'll be successful as a company. And so potentially a game that we've created like Dog's Playground could disappear in the future, but your dog is always going to be in the chain. And we're going to be putting all the information on the chain that is sort of needed to recreate the dog in various stages of its development. So for example, like our philosophy is not necessarily that every pixel of your dog needs to be exactly constant throughout its entire life. You know, we're building a game, we want to iterate, we want to make it better and better, we want to make the dogs cuter. On the other hand, we want to keep that history alive so that if someone in the future wants to make like a retro version of the game, they'll have the information on the chain that they can then draw from to kind of recreate that experience or build upon the experience at an older state of the game. And so the chain allows us to have this very rich history, not just of the dogs, but also of the game itself, which we think can cause the investment of time to be much more worthwhile than with something like Farmville, where you're kind of at the mercy of Zynga.
And if you made a really great tricked out dog sort of thing, would you then be able to sell it later?
Yes, although we're not releasing the game with a marketplace yet. We just wanted to make sure we could get it out as soon as possible and not wait for all the bells and whistles. But yeah, the marketplace is coming. It's an important part of the game. Anyone can get started for free, and you can play and ultimately earn money starting for free. Although really our philosophy is not around earning money. We want people to be able to earn money, but what we really want is people to be able to have fun. And we think that most people who engage in the game are going to be net spenders, and that that's for the best. But certainly, if you have an awesome dog and you're looking to flip it, we're going to make that very easy to do.
How much is that dog in the window? Yeah.
These
So
days, really
can we
expensive.
take our dogs with us into crypto fights and it can bark at our opponent and maybe weaken them?
Maybe, but not for a
Okay.
while, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, for now, we are really stuck in hand cash by choice. It just makes our lives so much simpler that we can really
Yeah.
focus on like what makes a game good versus kind of fulfilling this vision of, oh, you're in money button today, you're in hand cash tomorrow. We think that's a nice idea and something that will come, but to us, we have other things to focus on first. So if you're going to go into crypto fights in the short term, it's probably going to be via hand cash, and you're going to have to talk to crypto fights about whether or not they want to integrate the Dog. I think it's a little bit of a mismatch potentially.
So are there other ways to earn, or is it just if you sell your dog once you've got it all pimped out?
Well, the items that your dog wears are also NFTs. And so you could potentially buy or even discover items which you could sell. So for example, did he mention digging? One of the things your dog can do is dig, and your dog can find treats, we're sort of a multi-currency game. So we have treats, which is something that we have a little bit more control over, like the issuance of to an individual player, and they're not liquid. It just allows us to balance the game a little bit more easily. And then we have, of course, BSV, which you can use throughout the game. And you can buy items, or you can use your treats and dig. And if you dig, you can maybe find other treats, or you can find items that are available in the shop, or you can even find items which are unavailable by doing anything other than digging. And so we expect that even though there's not any kind of cap on the number of dogs, there will be caps on individual items. And so we think that there will be opportunity for collectors who are interested in kind of like a rare item, who either acquire that or speculate on it to potentially get a return. But again, that's not really our focus. It's just something that we think adds to the fun.
Will other people be able to submit items into the game as tokens?
Yes, that's one of our really big ambitions here. Is we want third-party creators to be able to submit items. Right now, it's really just clothes for the dog, but soon afterwards, we're going to have furniture that you can get and you can place around the dog, or even have creators be able to do things like create another environment the dog can go into and do these same actions, or create things like an alternative animation. So one of the things that we'll be able to put on chain is basically all the information you need to create a different animation for these dogs that'll work across all of the dogs. And so if someone, like, did he mention digging? Maybe there's a cuter digging animation that could be sold as an NFT to users in our marketplace created by third-party creators. And so there's really a lot of ways to integrate these types of creations. And it makes micropayments really, really important, not just for paying for these types of things directly, but also for when you actually bring something like a dog, which now may have all kinds of contributions from different creators, and you take that into a new setting where someone else is building a game around these dogs, and they're building on top of these animations and illustrations that are coming from various creators. How do you make sure everyone gets paid fairly in a way that doesn't add all kinds of complexity and risk to third-party creators. And we think that we can help to facilitate that using BSV micropayments.
It's a good opportunity for artists, isn't it? It's another way for artists to take part in this economy.
I think so. I think the metaverse is exciting and scary at the same time, as it should be. But so I recently got an Oculus headset. So sorry for giving Zuckerberg money, but
Annoying.
whatever. It's really fun.
So annoying, that Facebook login. Ugh.
I hate to say it, but it's so fun, and it's extremely immersive, and it's very social as well. Like, one of the games I've been playing most is ping pong, and
Ooh.
it's just like playing ping pong. It's really incredible. Except for I can play like with my dad, for example, where I'm in New York, he's in Cleveland, and we can just be playing ping pong and having a conversation. And I look around this kind of virtual space that we find ourselves in, and there's just so much opportunity for all kinds of visual artists, sound artists, really all kinds of creators to contribute to this virtual world, which it's just such a big canvas, essentially. And I think it's a massive opportunity that we're hoping to sort of lead the way on in a small way with DuraDogs.
Now, you just said
Beautiful.
sound. So actually, I think I remember you saying something in the past about if you're a sound engineer or you're just a musician or whatever, you can actually submit like barks and just scratch, like little noises to a comment, say he's digging and it's like a scratching noise and stuff. So you would be able to upload. And how would you do that? Would that be an MP4 file or something?
More or less. I mean, some of these things they're all in various stages of design. Some are just very seeds of ideas. Some have UIs already designed. And it's just a matter of keeping on, like, working on this thing and getting all that stuff available. Because it's not simple, because you have to be careful about things like, are people copying each other? Are they stealing other copyrighted works? So there's a lot of things that go into this kind of challenge. But from a tech standpoint and from a commercial standpoint, we think it's both possible and very desirable to have things like, here's a sound engineer that just created an alternate bark sound than the bark sound that we use, which, it's not like we poured hundreds of thousands of dollars into designing this bark. It's pretty off the shelf. Someone could definitely do something better, and we'd like to help people do it.
Well, think about how many breeds of dogs there are in the world.
Yeah.
They all sound very different, don't they, as well? So
They all behave quite differently too.
Yeah, they do, definitely.
Mhm.
Like,
How many? If you could customize your dog to look like your real world dog, like I named my Duro dog Roscoe Wiggins, which is my little Min Pin's name now, just to immortalize him on the blockchain. But yeah, I wouldn't, it wasn't the kind of look that I would like for my Duro dog. Can we change our breed and all that soon, or?
Not necessarily. So, a dog, we derive all the dog's kind of innate physical qualities from the serial number. So each dog has a serial number, and then we have an algorithm which maps the serial number onto a number of different kinds of attributes. And so we probably won't change that so that people can necessarily change those attributes within our games, because we kind of want to preserve, like, the look of the dog. What we will make easier right now, there's a button that says, I want to adopt a dog, and we just give you a random serial number, from our inventory. In the future, we want to have different interfaces where not only could you buy dogs from other people, but you could maybe select from, like, a larger set of dogs and not just click a button and get something random. It's just that random is like a one-button system where we give you a random dog is a pretty easy way to start. And so
I think that's cool.
that's what we're doing for now.
Yeah, I think that's quite cool. We did a competition to see whether or not our viewers would be able to guess who our special guest was. And how did that competition go, Ruth?
I think it was a bit of a miserable fail, actually. I'm just trying to think what the guesses were we got. I haven't got the right
Yeah,
one.
we got a Michael Hudson.
Yeah,
and
me
Joshua
too, yeah.
Hensley.
Joshua
Yeah.
Hensley.
Yeah, if only.
Somebody said Satoshi, but
Yes.
it wasn't Satoshi.
And Tupac.
Yeah, we had a Tupac as well.
Yeah.
Sausage Nick. Oh, silly sausage. Oh, that was you.
That was me because he was being quite rude, as I recall.
Right.
No,
Crypto
but
Acons as well. Yeah,
I might just pick somebody anyway.
Yes.
But
So
yeah,
even
nobody
though no
actually-
one guessed right,
Nobody actually
we
guessed
still
right.
have the NFT winner. Is that correct?
Well, I'll have to pick someone to win the NFT. I'll do it, but I'll
Well, I
do
wondered
it
whether
after this.
Jackson would like to pick one, seeing as he's our special guest today. I mean, would Jackson like to pick a winner? Even though nobody actually guessed who our special guest actually
In the
was.
hot seat, Jackson.
I mean,
Yeah.
I would have loved it to be Michael Hudson, so I would go that direction.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Okay.
All right, that's the
All
winner.
right.
Come on,
I'll
you're a
find them.
superstar,
I'll find
really.
So the
Yes.
handle for the gentleman that guessed Michael Hudson was only _ $BSV at 9452. So that's *7670197.
I will have to contact them then. That's very organised of you, Diddy. Well done.
Thank you
I am
very
less
much.
organised.
Yes, and
But they
as-
get to pick which NFT they want from that Halloween collection.
Yeah, so the prize is it one NFT from our Halloween collection?
Yeah.
Ooh.
It would
So-
be cool, Jackson, if someone wanted to bury a certain item as an NFT for your dog to go discover, kind of like
Oh,
a
in VR or something.
hunt for to be able to like.
Mind you, do you really want your dog digging up other people's yards or whatever?
I'm just thinking, of ideas when it comes to people being able to drive fan engagement.
So I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
really
and like
cool.
you said with the
Sounds
Oculus, are you planning on AR VR as well then?
Anyways,
Well, it's very open-ended. There's so many directions we can go, including, bring the dogs into a 3D environment, bring them into a VR AR environment. Maybe a first step could be something like, well, I'll spoil this. There's a few companies, and you could probably guess at least who one of them is, that we've worked pretty closely with over the past few months. And we're going to be launching with some branded hats that'll be available. I would love to get some Women of BSV merch into the game soon.
My
yeah,
goodness,
I think that'd be really fun.
phenomenal.
Yes.
we would really appreciate that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, we would love that.
Women of BSV hats and bow ties and shades for the dogs. That would be excellent.
And ribbons.
Let me know.
Now, Ray is a
And I will
digital
supply it.
designer as well. Ray, she's also an expert with design and digital design and even NFTs. So, Ray, what's your impression after hearing this so far about Duro Dogs?
I like it.
Handcraft?
I tried it out. We are trying to make something similar with an algorithm and the transaction ID. So I'm glad I'm doing something right. I do have a question. Did you talk about nifty jigs? And
Yeah, I'd love
does
to hear
that work
about
with
that.
Duro dogs?
Yeah, so something that we're trying to kind of keep simple for now and not expose too much complexity to the user right away. We're kind of treating everything as a Duro dog, but actually each Duro dog is created from what we're calling now a game drop jig. We called these things that we sold in the Nifty Jigs pre-sale Nifty Jigs, and then we called the platform Nifty Jigs 2, and then it got really, really confusing. And so we decided we had to change at least one of those names. And so we have these things called game drop jigs. And what they are, it's just kind of an experiment for us, really, where all they are is a serial number. And it's kind of an open canvas for us as game developers and for anyone else who wants to kind of build within this network we're creating. They're welcome to try and use the game drop jig as kind of a seed for the game that they're trying to build. And so these serial numbers that a Duro dog has were actually derived from the game drop jig that spawned that Duro dog. And so there's a one-to-one relationship between a game drop jig and a Duro dog. And there will be a similar one-to-one relationship between a game drop jig and a card in a game hash war that we announced when we first announced the Nifty Jigs platform that we're working on. But we were sort of prioritizing Duro dogs because we just think it's the right thing to do.
It's got legs.
It does have legs. And I do want to quickly emphasize that the Nifty Jigs platform is sort of a general purpose NFT platform for building or for creating and managing NFTs on BSV within the Handcash ecosystem. And you don't have to interact with Duro dogs. You don't have to interact with our game drop jigs. You can do your own thing. Or ultimately, we will make it possible to do your own thing. It's a slightly permission system for now, because again, just trying to keep things simple for our own sanity. But yeah, we see a lot of use for NFTs, especially in the context of micropayments. And really kind of we prefer the term digital goods because that's how we see it. It's a way for people to manage the digital goods that they're using within their digital lives.
Exciting.
I don't think we've halfway dreamt what that's going to mean yet. Do you think?
No, definitely not.
Yes, the canvas.
I mean, it's literally keeping me awake at night these days, thinking about the possibilities. Maybe that's just me.
No,
yeah.
I don't sleep.
And Jackson, may I ask then, do you go into your Handcash wallet and that's where you enter the Duro Dogs playground? Is that right?
I think that we will have like a link from their kind of app store type of interface.
Yes.
You can also go directly to durodogs.com, and then we have a little get started button. And you'll see the transactions from the game in the, or at least the transactions that have like a monetary value in your wallet. We cover the kind of NFT fees. Run, which is the protocol we're using, has a really cool sort of split wallet system where the purse, which funds transactions, and the owner, which sort of signs for things related to what happens with the NFT, can be two different accounts. And so we function as the purse for everybody because we don't want people to have BSV to get started with the game to cover transaction fees. But if you buy a dog, you'll see it in your Handcash in terms of the transaction, but you would go to the game to see your actual NFTs. And eventually we want to have sort of a hub for all of your NFTs that are connected to the Nifty Jigs ecosystem, which you would be able to see at niftyjigs.io.com. We have both, and we use one. I think we use IO for testing, so don't go there.
Gonna settle on one. Yeah.
And what is a Duro?
A Duro is 500 Satoshis, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
And so it's just it's a different way of thinking about BSV that I think maybe is easier for people to think as like a virtual currency that goes from game to game rather than something that's used for speculating. I like the Duro. I love Handcash. So if Handcash says, let's use the Duro, then I say, let's use the Duro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I was talking to Alex the other week. There seemed to be a lot of benefits, actually, of sort of separating the concepts out for a gamer, I mean. So, yeah, no, it seems like a cool concept and won't hurt BSV at all, I don't think, to sort of separate the ideas apart a bit. So Nifty Jigs and Duro Dogs are essentially one's a builder and the other one's a game, and that's how you're separating the two at the moment. And this builder, this Nifty Jigs builder, what will people be able to do with it? What kind of things will they make? Their own in-game tokens or other things as well?
So right now it's an API which is used to define a run class and then create and manage instances of run jigs from that class. So the Duro Dogs game is built using the Nifty Jigs API. And it was really important for us to kind of be co-developing both on the application and the infrastructure side. So we felt like we would do a better job with the infrastructure, if we were building it from the perspective of our actual infrastructure customer, which of course is an application. We are really, really excited about DuraDogs, and we want to make sure that we are focused on our own apps and their success rather than going straight to trying to just get as many people building on top of Nifty Jigs as possible. So, we want to grow sustainably. There's a lot of work to be done on all fronts. And so we're just happy to be reaching this milestone where we'll have DuraDogs out in the world. We'll be getting real data from users, and we'll have a Nifty Jigs powered app kind of showing not just what Nifty Jigs can do, but I think what BSV can do in terms of creating a really high or a really great user experience around NFTs and around in-app payments.
And you're planning on allowing people to purchase a dog with fiat as well, then? You're saying you're acting as the wallet so they don't have to. Not immediately?
No, so we give away one dog for free, although that's a slight misnomer because you would still have to pay the adoption fee in order to sell that dog on the market. And the reason we're doing that is because we don't want people to spam accounts and be able to just harvest dogs. So right now the adoption fee for that first dog or for subsequent dogs is 99 cents. It's very affordable. Can only pay with BSV for now. And we'll see if we ever introduce any other kind of on-ramp. But with the fiat on-ramps coming to hand cash, we don't necessarily think that we're ever going to need to accept any fiat currency.
That's a good point.
No,
yeah.
I don't think it would either. I think Duro would be the in-game currency, and that's
a good point.
Stay. Yeah, definitely. So that's how I see it anyway.
And
so Jackson, go on.
I'm also curious about Micah's impression. Micah has been touring the world, interacting with the iGaming networks all around the world. So Jackson has the expertise as a poker game platform businessman as well as a poker player. So what would you two be able to talk about here that relates to DuraDogs?
Well, I actually had a conversation today with the University of Malta. And speaking of, let's say, buying dogs, NFT dogs, the question came up, like, do you really have the ownership of this NFT? Or do you have like full rights? You can do whatever you want with it, or do you have only the access to it?
I think it is kind of a hybrid, honestly, for us at least, where owning an NFT would not really equate in the traditional sense to kind of like owning like the ability to sort of sub-license the images and animations that we use to represent that NFT in our game. In terms of we really think of an NFT as like a very basic thing, just being an authentication, essentially, an authentication that comes with some kind of history attached to it. And that sort of was the genesis of our experiment with the game drop jigs, where, what would happen if we created an authentication that kind of had the minimum viable amount of information to differentiate them from one another, in this case just a serial number. And so I think it's really important to kind of separate that authentication from the application level, and that just really helps to kind of foster the kind of creativity that's necessary to utilize these authentications in new types of ways. So for example, we don't think there's any reason why your DuraDog has to look exactly the same in a game that we are releasing like DuraDog's Playground versus, something that someone else creates where the dogs are racing, for example. Maybe they create a 3D version of that dog. Maybe they put the spots on the dog in a slightly different place. Who cares? I mean, if they want to have a pixel art animation or some kind of other style, why not? That just makes it richer and more fun. So we think that the creativity is really enhanced by kind of thinking of the NFT as the sort of basics of what is it actually. And we see it really as just an authentication that's easy to verify and easy to transfer, and it comes with some history attached to it. And so I don't even think it's that important to try and map it to different ways of sort of considering ownership. At the end of the day, you probably own what like the local law enforcement officers say that you own. And so if they say, I'm not sure when all is said and done, will they say that you own a Dog or you don't own a Dog and you're just a user? I think it will be interesting to see how it all shakes out. But in terms of the types of experiences that we think we can create and want to help others create, I actually don't think it's very important at all.
Yeah, let's say the critical point of our discussion today was like, what if you bought the NFT and then the platform goes offline? Do you actually own this item? Is it, or can you like also use it somewhere else? But you also just mentioned it that it is possible to maybe transfer it to somewhere else.
Yeah, I think it would definitely be possible to use those items if Unbounded Enterprise was no longer in business. But at the same time, we think it would be unlikely that those would be used if we were if we failed, let's say, in the next 6 months, which is pretty unlikely, but who knows? And this is part of also why we're focused on thinking of these more as like a consumer product than an investment product. The dogs are 99 cents, and we're hoping that that gets the message across that you're probably not going to make a living as a Dogs player, and that if you're participating, you're probably doing it more for fun than you are because you're trying to generate some kind of meaningful return. And so we think that kind of maybe ramps down the concern level for some of these types of questions about, what happens if I spent $100,000 on this NFT and then the platform goes down? Like, what next? It's a good question, but it's just not a question that we care to honestly think about that much, just because we're really focused on, all right, we have these tool sets, we have micropayments, and we have NFTs. How can we help people have fun?
Yeah.
And that's really our focus.
Yeah, but in general, I can definitely say I was like attending in the last weeks several iGaming conferences, and NFT. It's a huge topic. It's very hyped, also in the scene, and also the iGaming or gaming and gambling sector is getting closer to what can you do with blockchain technology in general. And I also see potentials if you go into this space, connect with like these big players in the scene, that there's a huge potential.
I totally agree. I think so. I was never an operator in kind of a poker site or anything. I was more of a player, a content producer, and an educator. But one thing that I would just say to sort of anyone playing in this new space where you have money and your game kind of intertwined in a way that wasn't necessarily as easy before, that it can be very challenging to create like a positive experience with those types of things, especially in kind of the competitive field. Poker is a really well-designed game in that there's enough skill that it's extremely interesting, and there's enough luck where people will come back and play it again and again, because even if they're not the best player, they can still win, and that's sort of necessary to have fun. You don't see the same amounts of money being wagered on chess, for example. And so, yeah, it would just the payments and having money at your fingertips is really exciting, but I think that you just have to be careful about the kind of overall ecosystem that you're creating. And so I think that's a little bit why we're kind of focused more on like strictly paying for a fun experience rather than like paying to enter some kind of competition or having like a more kind of competitively oriented ecosystem, although we would love, of course, and plan to be integrated in various ways with a platform like Haste, where you do have that kind of competitive, real money gaming element. But I do think that those kinds of things are hard to get right. And it's very challenging from a game design perspective, and it requires a lot of foresight.
And presumably regulation as well, does it?
We'll see.
It's not caught up with crypto yet, then.
I think that it will matter kind of like what your stakes are when all is said and done. I think that letting people have an entry fee that's kind of in line with what would we charge to sort of bypass like the opportunity of putting an ad in front of you, and the ability to generate revenue through ads, that kind of entry fee is at a rate where kind of having like a prize structure at that scale, I think you're going to be pretty much fine. Not legal advice, but I wouldn't be worried about entering something like Haste for a couple cents a pop. But yeah, I do think that when you get up into higher dollar amounts, you have to be careful.
This is a great segue into
Yeah.
Ray's news recommendation about Haste. So, Ray, could you tell us why you chose this as your most important news item today?
Hey, we were talking about or today with game development, and so I happened to see this through a friend, and you can, I think, earn up to $10,000, and you have to develop a game that talks to your leaderboard, which I think is pretty unique. And what it does, you can earn money through your score, which I think I don't. Is Haste connected to Hand Cash?
Yeah.
It is,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
I because I played Forest. Is it Forest Fire with the
Yeah,
Little
that's right.
Wizards? And I ended up winning, and I was on the leaderboard. It was only the very basic level one, and for a whole day, I was just getting loads and loads of
Yeah.
euros pinging into my wallet, and I was like, I like this. I like this a lot. So I really like that concept. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, and this competition ends, I think, the right before or the end of January.
Was it the end of January or the end of December? I can't remember.
I believe. I'm sorry, you're right. Probably December 31st. And I think there's one game that's already launched, and I believe it's by Duro King on Twitter. His name's
The Duro
Brandon.
King.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they
And
have a
didn't-
Discord.
Didn't
that
they
you
say
can
that it was
join.
about plays as well? The winner was going to be determined mostly by how many plays it's had. So the earlier you launch your game, the better as well.
Yeah.
And what is Haste Arcade? And then how does that relate to Duro Dogs? I know you've just said that, but
Right, or I guess because we're just talking about certain, all game development. I don't think they use the same type of, like platform like Duro Dogs uses. I do know you can download some of the games online to, play around with the test, which I think is, a good opportunity for people who want to join the competition.
great, thank you.
Yeah, I think it will be. Well, we work closely with Haste and we love Haste. And I am expecting that there will be some games that use Duradogs and also use Haste not so long from now.
Great. So is Haste is like the Pac-Man machine?
Well, Haste has this SDK which makes using this ILP instant leaderboard payout concept they've developed much simpler than it was before. And I can attest to some of the lack of simplicity. Since we created a game called BSV 2048, we like the ILP concept so much that we're like, all right, that looks fun. Let's just,
That was really good,
let's just
that.
do something.
Did you created 2048 then, did you?
Yeah, we created BSV 2048.
Yeah, love that
Wow.
game. Love that game.
Well, 2048 is just a great game in general, and we thought it would work really well in this LP format.
It's very
Um,
addictive.
Yeah, it is super addictive. I still play it like every day, personally, although I'm pretty incentivized to.
Why?
But yeah, any
Because
kind of
makes money.
Oh, okay. Got it. You made it.
arcade style game works really well with haste. And so by arcade style, I just mean, you start from the beginning, you get as far as you can, and then you get some kind of score based on how far you got. And we want to ultimately, we are going to put out sort of a similar SDK, which will make it really easy to import Duro dogs and a specific user's dogs into your game extremely simple, and also to design a game where you kind of have a model dog that you can use for testing. And there's nothing stopping people from putting those two things together, creating an arcade style game where the Duro dog is the kind of avatar that you're using, and you get as far in the game as you can, you get some kind of high score, and then potentially, if you have a high enough score, you could make money.
So I've got another question for you. So, Telltale's, they've got, Sat and Oshi, their characters, and they're doing this comic. Are you going to turn Duro Dogs into a comic as well? Because I could see that actually going down quite well.
Well,
Just putting it out
the
there.
most the kind of the gaming or media franchise that is made, or just media franchise in general that's made the most money in its history is Pokemon. And they're obviously amazing storytellers. And so, I don't know if I'm the right guy for it. I think about, BSV and fees and all this like kind of more techie stuff. And I have a really creative team that has, helped kind of marry that vision for sort of what's possible technically with, a game that actually looks good and is fun. So I would love to see a Duradogs comic and Duradogs characters. I don't think I'm going to be the author, unfortunately.
I think I have several ideas for some characters actually.
Ooh.
I might have a chat with you later about it.
That would be really fun. Yeah, I would love.
Yeah, Diddy,
That'd be
you
great.
make it. That'd be great for you.
And what games did you play growing up with your family as a kid? Or
With
your
my
friends?
family, well, the family's game of choice is Yahtzee.
Oh my goodness, I
Which
remember it. Yeah.
I kind of hate, other than for the tradition of it, because there's very little skill. With friends, definitely poker. That's always been kind of my main game. It's just a endlessly fun game.
I'm really intrigued to ask, being a poker player, does that mean that you're really good at reading people?
In the context of poker, yes. Outside of poker, I'm not going to say.
Right.
Texas Hold'em.
So
Exactly. Love
we
Texas
usually
Hold'em.
Oh, sorry. We usually do some news items. So, is there anything specifically in the news at the moment that that's jumping out at you within this space? I mean,
has anything even happened this week?
Yes.
I'm actually just reading tweets about it now. That Carolina Bellado is live tweeting from the court as we speak, talking about the ridiculous amount of money that they're asking for, close to $1 trillion judgment. We're talking about the Kleiman Wright case, of course.
which is the biggest news, actually.
Yeah. What's your opinion about how it's going, Jackson?
Well, I think it's really interesting. We've heard a good amount about the kind of conflict between Craig and his lawyers in terms of whether or not this was an appropriate forum to reveal evidence, which it seems that Craig has been wanting to reveal in a court.
Yeah.
And so we now know that at least some of the evidence that seems to have been available was not presented. And so I think it'll be really fascinating to see what Craig's next step is in terms of, does he want to wait and try and put some of this stuff forward in another legal setting, or does he want to sort of take matters into his own hands a little more and kind of advance this set of objectives that he's outlined that he has for controlling his invention.
Build on the momentum of the case, sort of thing.
Or just get on with it, essentially. Is he going to just get
Yeah.
on with it, or is he going to wait? I don't know.
You never
we'll
know
find out.
with Craig. That's the thing. You never know what's going on in his head. So I think the whole thing's absolutely fascinating. Shall we talk just for a minute or two about what happened yesterday and why it was significant? What was presented by the defence yesterday?
The big bombshell news.
Yeah, the gist of it was, as I understand it, was that basically they presented. Craig revealed that a domain name that one of the key emails that was good for the plaintiff had been sent from an email address that only he knew related to the fact that he'd made the name after he met his wife and children. So thus proving that he would have to have been very foolish indeed to have forged an email from that address, but that anybody else forging an email from that address wouldn't have known the significance of the name. I don't think I've explained that very well. Did anybody understand what I just said?
Well, I don't even know how you forge an email. I mean, that's
well.
But what I do know is that
hackers.
Obviously the plaintiff has been found to have sent himself emails from his dead brother and actually other things, which I mean, like 10 to 30 email addresses or something, and he's been sending himself emails from pretending to be other people. So that doesn't sit well in that respect. But no, yeah, it's basically, yeah, I think the way that I gather the information is that Craig met his wife after this forged email was supposedly have sent. So there's no way.
Yeah, several years ago. So a really long time apart. And then the other piece of evidence that he introduced was was it agenda minutes from a BDO meeting, I think?
Yeah, from meetings with other people. Yeah.
In which he talked about kind of milestone dates that he was going to meet to develop Bitcoin. And I think the word Bitcoin was used in those documents. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, whether that's enough to settle the case today, I don't know. But I, as I understand it, I think they're actually trying to wrap it up today. So I don't know how long the jury goes out for in America. Could it be any amount of time, Jackson? Do you know?
I don't think that there's any sort of hard and fast limit.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also Thanksgiving is Thursday, which means that if they don't wrap up by today, then we'll be going Monday.
And nobody wants that.
I don't think
it must be very hard to be a juror in this case, I would think, because it's so involved, it's so detailed. A lot of it's been, points that have been laboured over and over again for hours at a time. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to be them. Let's put it like that. Even though we all have a fairly good grasp of the situation, it must be hard work. I think Kurt's done an amazing job to report on it as well as he has, and Patrick as well. They've been fantastic, haven't they? They've been glued to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and last night with the Wi-Fi going out,
oh yeah,
that was
weird.
Very exciting. And also, I appreciate the chat in their live stream. I get such a kick out of all the comments, don't you?
It was good when they were on The Lawyer, because he's
really good.
He's got a really good channel as well, and goes over a lot of different court cases and explains the legal elements that obviously, me myself, I'm not very clued up on. But yeah, I thought that was a really good call as well, getting Kurt on as a special guest on The Lawyer, Now we're coming up to 59 minutes. Now, Corpy has an amazing video.
Oh, she does, yes.
And I think it'd be really lovely if maybe Corpy can share her video, and then that builds up for coming into the next month or so. So I would like to say a very big thank you to Jackson for coming.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us.
And hopefully you might come back sometime as well.
Mm.
It was my pleasure, and it would be my pleasure. I'm honored
Brilliant.
to be a guest. Thank you very much for having me.
We will hold you to that, Jackson. Don't worry.
Yes.
I will be after you. Also, actually, can I just give a shout out to Mandy and to Satoshi as well, because I'm still waiting for your emails, guys.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so Corpy, would you like to share your video?
Yes.
And then after your video, we can play our outro. Is that all right with everybody?
Yes.
Say goodbye to everyone then.
Thank you,
Happy
Jackson.
Thanksgiving. Take care.
So I don't have anything to say, but enjoy and let's go. You ready?
Top of the world.
I'm
Can
ready.
you say it?
Ready.
Can you see it?
Live
Yeah.
from Galiaka.
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah. Okay.
This looks like loads of fun, Corpy.
I know. I can't wait to come visit you, homie.
I did this clumsy video, but I had a limited time, so I just went out there and shot it, and yeah.
Was this camera strapped to your head, or were you holding it?
No, I feel like I'm in a game.
No, it's attached to the snowmobile.
Oh, good.
A bit challenging route,
You're so close to all the
but
trees.
not for me.
This would terrify me. I mean, I hate driving in snow in England, and we only ever get about 3 inches.
Yeah, but this is with a snowmobile.
Yeah.
Yeah, even so, you get like an eye full of twig.
And I made this as a reminder that
Get
every
your Oculus on.
obstacle is that you can go around it, or to remove it, or just
Through it.
The way
yeah,
emerges. Yeah.
just through it.
Yeah, that's really inspirational.
And is that, what time of day was this? What are the light levels like there at the moment?
This is the brightest day of the day.
Yeah.
So like noon,
Wow.
just before the sun fades.
So how far are you from home there if you get stuck or something?
What?
How far are you from home if you were to get stuck or something out there?
Usually more than 10 kilometers, but this is just from the neighborhood. Like neighborhood as in sense in like 5 kilometers.
How fast are you traveling?
How fast?
Mm.
I didn't speeden up or use any slow motion in the video, so
On the very
this is
best
the
place to
speed
this
I was
so
traveling.
heading that way.
And here I'm arriving at Keliakka.
I assume if you did get stranded, it would be very serious out there.
Right.
You have to be pretty careful.
That's the river.
Do you carry snowshoes with you?
Yeah, but not yet.
Ah, so it's not that deep yet.
Hey!
Hey, look at
I
that.
love the Santa's hats.
What is that called again? The place, the
We
teepee?
have arrived, and
Kota.
Kota.
I think this is the best place to enjoy this. And
There's
because
an
here's an elf waiting for us. I have another for you. Cheers!
Excellent.